Part 33. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 322. Since the immortal realm has reached a critical moment of survival, our Mo family cannot stay out of it. It seems that it is time to summon our distant ancestors to return. The fairyland that has been peaceful for millions of years is now in trouble again. Hey, it's an ominous sign. Good, use the blood of our clan as a guide to call our distant ancestors to return and face the difficulties of the immortal realm together. When the voice of the leader of the old man fell, there was a sound of agreement immediately. No one in the hall objected to this proposal. People who have reached this level of cultivation are no longer narrow-minded. They know that if the ancient bells ring now, they will definitely there is a big problem in the immortal realm. At this moment, only when all the immortal kings in the immortal realm gather together and cooperate sincerely can we overcome the difficulties together. At this time, it is undoubtedly unrealistic to think about preserving ourselves. If the immortal realm is gone, how can the Mo family live alone? Okay, then use the power of blood to sacrifice and call the distant ancestors to return. The old man headed by him sat cross-legged with his knees crossed, and an extremely powerful aura surged in his body. Countless runes rose from the blood in his body, and finally gathered into a strange symbol on his head, pulsing with extremely powerful energy. The breath of blood. The other people in the hall, together with the old man, called for the power of blood hidden deep in their own blood, condensed into this blood symbol, and rose above their heads. Bloodline pulling, gathering. The old man headed by shouted, and the blood runes began to gather and merge in mid-air, and finally formed an extremely powerful blood rune, exuding a majestic aura that illuminates the 3,000 realms. Go, look for the traces of the distant ancestors, tell the distant ancestors everything, and call the distant ancestors to return. The old man shouted, and at the same time he fired a magic spell. The blood rune exuding a majestic aura instantly broke through the hall, escaped into the void, and flew towards the vast void. Endlessly far away from the immortal realm, there is an ancient small world that is deeply hidden. This is an extremely strange small world. The sky is dark red, the earth is cracked, powerful auras crisscross the sky and the earth, volcanoes erupt, lava bursts out, tsunamis fill the sky, and thunder breaks out. Endless air of decay and decay emerged from the heaven and earth, and the world was completely lifeless, with no trace of the existence of any living thing. This is a small world that is on the verge of extinction. Now it has reached the end of its lifespan and is about to be destroyed. Ordinarily strong people, even those in the supreme realm, would find it difficult to survive in this world. Because this is a world where all Tao does not exist. There is no trace of Tao in the world, let alone the existence of any spiritual energy. However, in this small world with extremely dangerous environment, there is a figure wearing mysterious clothes, sitting silently on top of a volcano crater. His eyes were slightly closed, as if he was comprehending something. The runes of the infinite avenue appeared around him one by one, and then submerged into his body again, which was extremely mysterious. This is an extremely powerful being. Even in this place where there are no traces around him, it still has no influence on him. Buzz. At a certain moment, the void in the sky suddenly shattered, and a rune exuding the power of endless blood flow fell from the sky and flew towards the man in black clothes who was sitting silently. At the same time, the man in black clothes slowly opened his eyes. It was a pair of eyes full of vicissitudes of life, as if they had gone through millions of years. In his eyes, it seemed as if there was a sea of stars condensing, the heaven and the earth were opening up, and the terrifying scene of all beings from birth to death emerged. The call of blood power. The man in black clothes raised his hand and grabbed the bloodline rune in his hand. Feeling the power connected to the bloodline in his body, he could not help but frown slightly. Did something big happen to the Mo family? This man in black clothes is the ancestor of the Mo family in the immortal realm, Mo Wushang. Millions of years ago, when he left the Mo family, he gave the Mo family a way to contact him, and he once warned that unless he arrived, when life and death are at stake, don't disturb him easily. Because he wants to realize enlightenment in this world. This small world that is about to collapse was accidentally discovered by him. Although there is no way to exist here, it coincides with the destruction of the world. For him, understanding the way of the immortal king is of great benefit. But who has ever had his family contact him at this moment? I, Mo Wushang, am not dead yet. Is there anyone in the immortal realm who dares to target my Mo family? Mo Wushang was puzzled. Generally, no one from the immortal king family of the immortal realm would dare to provoke them, especially when the immortal king of the family is still alive, and it has been said that there will be no danger for thousands of generations. Mo Wushang thought in his heart. He closed his eyes slightly and sensed the information conveyed in this blood rune. Just a moment later, he opened his eyes full of solemnity. The ancient bell actually rang? Are three immortal kings ringing the ancient bell to summon the immortal kings of all worlds to return? Mo Wushang immediately knew that what he was about to face might be more dangerous and important than the survival of the Mo family. The three immortal kings ringing the ancient bell of chaos was no small matter. It seemed that it was time for him to return to the immortal realm. Got it? Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 323. It's not yet time for the world to collapse, and it's difficult to understand the path of destruction when the world collapses, but it's not the time to worry about that now. King Mo shook his head slightly. This small world was found by him after he set foot in all the worlds and went through all kinds of hardships. In order to understand the way of destruction of heaven and earth when the world here is destroyed. The destruction of the world is in a slow process. King Mo has been in this world for nearly 1,000,000 years, and has just waited for the destruction of the world. During these millions of years, although King Mo has gained some understanding from this decadent and declining world, in the end to realize, he still has to wait for the destruction of the world. But now in the fairyland, there are three fairy kings ringing the ancient bells to summon the fairy kings of the heavens to return. At this time, even if he wants to stay in this world, it is impossible. The immortal realm is the foundation of the immortal kings in all realms. If the immortal realm no longer exists, they, the immortal kings, will also become rootless ducks. Gone. King Mo stood up, flicked with one hand, and a mysterious space portal appeared in front of him. Immediately, he stepped into the space portal and left this world without any nostalgia. Outside the fairyland, in the endless turbulence of space, the chaotic energy is misty, and this is a place where nothing can grow and no spirit can exist. Even if a true fairyland exists, it will be difficult to sustain it here for too long. It will lose its direction and be lost in the chaos of the world, making it difficult to return. But at this moment, there is a huge figure that covers the sky and the sun, vaguely visible in the endless space turbulence. This body is like a giant that created the world, lying flat in the endless chaos of chaos, swallowing chaos and drifting across the world. At a certain moment, a vague bell sounded, causing this majestic and magnificent supreme existence to open its eyes. Two candle-lit gazes shot out, and the turbulent space in front of them was instantly destroyed by the majestic and endless aura. The ancient bell of chaos rang, and the immortal realm was at a critical moment. An ancient and majestic voice came from the mouth of this giant. I haven't returned to the immortal realm for millions of years. Could it be that some major changes have occurred in the immortal realm? It seems that I must return. The giant murmured to himself. He raised one hand and stirred up the chaos. In the distance, a bright light cut through the chaos and flew towards him. In an instant, it arrived in front of him. It was an ancient battle axe, as big as a star, with mysterious runes covering its surface and filled with endless power. The endless runes, arranged in a magical manner, together form an immortal rune. played. If there is an elder from the immortal realm here, he may be able to guess the identity of this giant just by seeing this powerful battle axe. King Pan. The supreme existence in the immortal realm tens of millions of years ago, its power are no less than those of the ancient kings, and it is an ancient existence of its contemporaneity. He once guarded the immortal realm for endless years. Later, in order to improve himself, he just left the immortal realm and wandered among the worlds. And now, after hearing the ringing of the chaotic ancient bell, King Pan did not hesitate at all, summoning his weapons, and then broke through the endless chaos, heading towards the direction from which the bell sounded, which was the immortal realm. At the same time, in every corner of the universe, there are beings who were once considered supreme from time to time, who are awakened by the ringing of these chaotic ancient bells. They didn't hesitate at all, they all broke through the chaos and headed towards the fairyland. I can feel that many fellow Taoists are coming back. On the Immortal King's platform, after playing the ancient bell, a smile appeared on the ancient king's face. He could vaguely feel that there were several extremely powerful auras rising in the heavens and worlds at this moment, and they were coming with the spirit of immortals. Domain is the coordinate anchor point, heading towards the direction of fairyland. I hope that fellow Taoists from all walks of life can return and help our immortal realm get through this disaster safely. Lotus King's face also became a little warmer. It seemed that these immortal kings who had returned from all the heavens and worlds had brought him a lot of strength. All the seniors were supreme beings tens of millions of years ago. Now that they have spent such a long time, they must have improved their cultivation, and the power of my immortal realm will also increase a lot. King Xian agreed. These immortal kings who left the immortal realm and traveled around the world are basically ancient existences accumulated in the immortal realm tens of millions of years ago. Years have changed, and generations have passed away, but these giant immortal kings, but it has become the most precious asset of the immortal realm. Millions of years ago, a war broke out in the Dark Realm to invade the immortal realm. It failed in the end, precisely because the immortal realm has such a foundation. The Dark Realm did not dare to started a decisive battle with the immortal realm, and they retreated at the last moment. Now after tens of millions of years, the cultivation of these immortal kings must have reached an extremely powerful level. Hope so. The ruthless emperor nodded slightly. With her current cultivation level, she could naturally vaguely sense that there were extremely tyrannical auras rising up in the heavens and the world, heading towards the fairyland. However, can these immortal kings gather together to solve the problems in the immortal realm? The ruthless emperor does not seem to be optimistic about this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 334. In the final analysis, the existence of the immortal king realm is too insignificant in the face of this upcoming disaster. The existence of the immortal king realm, looking at all the worlds, is indeed considered to be at the top level. But looking at the wider world, in front of Deluo and even Hunyuan, it is nothing. It is so small that it is no different from a grain of dust next to the sun. If the gap in strength between the two is too large, fighting with them will give rise to despair. But the current situation is that the combined strength of the entire universe is probably less than 1/1000th of the legendary Hunyuan. Even the feeling of despair is difficult to arise. Because the gap between the two is really too far away, so far away that there is no way to make up for it. The actions of King Xian, King Gu, and others were just doing their best to understand destiny. After all, as beings in the immortal king realm, it is not their style to be able to reach this point and sit back and wait for death. Moreover, in the face of this catastrophe that could affect the immortal realm and even all the worlds, all beings in the immortal king realm have the right to know and the responsibility to face it together. The border of the fairyland, in front of the sea of all realms. After King Xian and others left, the place fell into silence, and there was no trace of any living beings. When King Xian and others left, in order to prevent beings from the immortal realm from accidentally approaching, a restriction was imposed here. Non-existences in the immortal king realm cannot pass that level of immortal king restriction. However, at a certain moment, on the embankment beside the Sea of All Realms, the void slowly moved, and a figure slowly emerged here. And with the emergence of this figure, there seemed to be a huge wave of waves in the depths of the Sea of All Realms, and some indescribable changes had taken place. The secret realm of the Sea of 10,000 Realms has finally been perfected. The figure that emerged was none other than Qin Mu. After some arrangements, Qin Mu had successfully arranged the secret realm of the Sea of 10,000 Realms, and then left the secret space. Hey, have you already taken any action? The ancient bell summons the return of the immortal kings of all realms. Haha, after thousands of years of accumulation, the foundation of the immortal realm is really pretty good. In an instant, Qin Mu already knew everything that happened in the immortal realm. Immortal Emperor De Luo is omniscient and omnipotent. In his eyes, there is no secret in anything in the world. What happened in the immortal realm happened in an instant. We'll know everything. However, it seems that we still need to give them a little hope. After all, the enemies they established for this world are still too strong. Qin Mu shook his head slightly. He naturally knew that even if he gathered all the power of the immortal realm since ancient times, in front of a Hunyuan, it would be as small as dust and not worth mentioning at all. However, the purpose of his move was just to unite the entire immortal realm and enhance the power of the immortal realm. He does not want the sentient beings in the immortal realm to be devastated by this blow, which would be contrary to his ideas. Therefore, Qin Mu plans to give the immortal realm and these immortal king realm existences guys, some hope. On the immortal king stage. After the ancient bell of chaos rang, the immortal kings of all realms returned as quickly as possible. In less than half a day, one after another powerful aura descended on the immortal realm like a candle shining on the sun across all realms, and came in front of King Xian and the others. I haven't seen you for millions of years, but my fellow Taoist king is still fine. What happened in the immortal realm that the ancient bell of chaos rang? Is the dark realm coming? With us here, the safety of the immortal realm will not be a problem. One after another, tyrannical beings descended on the immortal king's stage, and at the same time cast a surprised look at the ruthless emperor. After all, the ruthless emperor had just been promoted to the giant of the immortal king realm and had never appeared in the immortal realm before. The ancient immortal kings were not aware of her existence, so they were naturally extremely surprised by this. Is this the new immortal king of my immortal realm? The aura is unfathomable, and he has already become a giant in the immortal king realm. King Xian, why did you summon us back? A new immortal king realm giant was born in the immortal realm, so it makes sense to summon us back. King Mo looked at the ruthless emperor and then guessed. The other returning immortal kings also nodded. A newly promoted immortal king realm giant, for such a reason, is worthy of their return. After all, every immortal king realm battle strength is a rare heritage in the immortal realm. However, since the woman in front of me has become a giant in the immortal king realm, it is obvious that she has already existed in the immortal king realm countless thousands of years ago. Why didn't she knock on it before? The ancient bell has been ringing, but now. It's not true. Xian Wang slowly shook his head, and then stretched out his hand to introduce the immortal kings in front of the ruthless emperor. This is King Mo, this is King Pan, this is King Jin, this is King. On the immortal king stage, there were 8 immortal kings who returned after being summoned by the ancient bell. Among them, there are King Mo, King Pan, and King Jin, all of whom are giants in the immortal king realm. Including the ancient king and Xian Wang who are already immortal king realm giants, there are a total of 5 immortal king realm giants in the entire immortal realm. This is a ruthless fellow Taoist who has recently risen from the peak of true immortality to become a giant of immortal king. Immediately, King Xian pointed his finger at the ruthless emperor, and said slowly under the surprised and shocked eyes of the immortal kings. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 335. From the peak of true immortality, he jumped up to become a giant in the immortal king realm. King Mo couldn't help repeating King Xian's words, with a look of surprise and confusion on his face. The expressions of the other immortal kings who returned to the immortal realm were similar to King Mo. If King Xian hadn't behaved as usual, and if there is no need to lie to them, these returning immortal kings will probably think that King Xian is lying to them. However, it is really difficult to understand that he has jumped from the top of the true immortal to become a giant of immortal kings. Through the ages, there has never been such a precedent in the immortal realm. Among the immortal king realm giants present, which one has become an immortal king giant without having to practice hard in the immortal king realm for millions or even tens of millions of years? To become a giant in the immortal king realm? To become a giant in the immortal king realm directly from a real immortal is really too incredible and too dreamy. Is it possible that this ruthless fellow Taoist is the reincarnation of a senior who has preserved the Taoist fruit? A returning immortal king couldn't help but guess. Hearing this immortal king's words, the expressions of the other immortal kings could not help but change slightly. Reincarnation, even among those who exist in the immortal king realm, is a taboo topic. And regarding reincarnation, all the immortal kings hold different opinions. Some believe in reincarnation and believe that everything in the world is in reincarnation, even the immortal kings are no exception. And there are also those who do not believe in reincarnation and believe that when a person dies, it is like a lamp going out. You can only live one life, and you can only respect being invincible. However, it seems that this is the only possibility for this woman named Ruthless to rise from the peak of a true immortal to become a giant of the immortal king. It is not the Tao of the previous life. Guo, how can we advance so triumphantly today and become a dragon? As soon as these words came out, even Qian Wang, ancient King Lotus King, the three immortal kings who witnessed the breakthrough of the ruthless emperor, couldn't help but fell silent. Indeed, although they witnessed ruthless emperor's breakthrough, the great emperor's road to breakthrough, but we don't know how he broke through. Now it seems that maybe the theory of reincarnation is really possible. I do not believe in reincarnation, nor do I respect reincarnation. When I am born in this world, I should fight for this life, only this life. The ruthless emperor's voice was cold, but there was a sense of being as solid as a rock in his words. She only believed in this life, not the next life, let alone the future. She once remembered that indifference millions of years ago. The existence as high as the sky once told her that there has never been reincarnation in this world. Only the weak believe in reincarnation, and the truly strong should break the reincarnation and conquer the heavens. Now, although millions of years have passed, but the words of the past are still firmly engraved in the heart of the ruthless emperor. Ahem, the three of us were all present when the ruthless fellow Taoist broke through. There are many different theories about reincarnation, and it is difficult to give a definite answer. If you believe it, there is it, but if you don't believe it, there is none. The three of us and I rang the ancient bell not just to let everyone know that our immortal domain has another immortal king realm giant, but there is something more important. The ancient king coughed lightly and brought the topic back to ringing the ancient bell and summoning us to return is not just for this matter. Is there other things that can be done? The borderlands are quiet and the fairyland is peaceful. What other big events will happen? Is it possible that, in addition to the ruthless fellow Taoist, there is a new immortal king in our immortal domain? Yuxian Wan couldn't help but joked. That's not the case. The sound of the ancient bell indicates that our immortal domain has reached a critical moment, and it is not for other reasons. The ancient king said slowly, with a solemn expression. Seeing his solemn expression, the smiles on the faces of King Mo, King Jin, King Pan, and others could not help but shrink, and became much more serious. However, in this seriousness, there are still some doubts. Because they don't know, what happened, is worthy of such attention from the ancient king and others. This matter cannot be explained clearly in 1 or 2 sentences. Everyone, please come with us. The ancient king shook his head, and then led the immortal kings to leave the immortal king's platform and head towards the border of the immortal domain, where the Sea of All Realms is located. When all the immortal kings arrived at the dam beside the Sea of All Worlds, no one could see them. With one exception, everyone was shocked by the vast ocean of worlds, which was as vast as billions of cosmic seas of stars stacked up. Where is this place? This place has never appeared in the fairyland before. What a terrifying place, an ocean made up of billions of stars, and there are so many corpses of peerless beings floating in it. This is a very dangerous place. When they saw the Sea of Boundaries, even these well-informed old antiques who had lived for tens of millions of years couldn't sit still and could no longer remain calm. Because of the existence of the Sea of Boundaries, it is really too majestic and breathtaking. Even those who exist in the immortal king realm will inevitably be shocked by this. Everyone, this place is called the Sea of 10,000 Realms, and it just appeared a few days ago. Previously, this place had been sealed and had not manifested itself in the fairyland. King Xian said slowly. Moreover, when the senior ancient king set foot on the long river of history and wanted to trace the history of this place, he discovered these. As he spoke, King Xian showed everything that had happened in past history in front of the immortal kings in the immortal realm. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 336. When the historical scrolls of the past were displayed one by King Xian in front of all the immortal kings. These ancient immortal kings who had returned from all realms were all in unprecedented shock. The first emperor who created the world, the desolate emperor of all eternity, the supreme lord of heaven, and the mysterious Hunyuan being lying in an ancient coffin, drifting in billions of universes, for whom just a drop of blood can make the immortal emperor fall. There has never been a moment when these ancient immortal kings felt as violent as they did now. They once stood at the pinnacle of all worlds, set foot in all worlds, and aspired to the highest level. Even if they looked at the fairyland, it would take millions or even tens of millions of years to give birth to a supreme being. But now, they know that the immortal king is just the starting point of the path of cultivation. Behind, there is a wider world. The great Luo immortal emperor is all true and only me, eternally carefree, and eternally at ease. There is also the Hunyuan Dao Lord who has become the source of a Dharma and has manifested itself in billions of universes. There is also the supreme Taoist ancestor of all heavens and 10,000 ways, who can make Hunyuan fall with just a thought. All of this, is it true? After seeing the image shown by King Xian, an immortal king murmured to himself, as if it was difficult to accept all this. Other immortal kings also turned their attention to ancient King Xian and others, seeming to hope that they could give an accurate answer. Reply. All this is of course true. The ancient king nodded firmly, breaking everyone's illusions. I have traced the long history and witnessed all of this on the upper reaches of the long river of history. Moreover, the Sea of 10,000 Realms in front of me perfectly matches everything I have witnessed in tracing back history, and it cannot be false. The ancient king said with a slightly solemn voice. That means that at some point, a Hunyuan existence will come and destroy the immortal realm and all the heavens and worlds. Pan Wang couldn't help but said. Indeed so. Lian Wang sighed and nodded. This. The scene suddenly fell into deathly silence, with only the waves of the Sea of All Realms surging wildly. How can we resist the existence of Hunyuan? A returning immortal king said in a difficult voice. In front of De Luo, the immortal king is like an ant. In front of Hunyuan, it was difficult for De Luo to resist. Now that Hunyuan has arrived, What can we do alone? King Emo smiled bitterly, with a sense of frustration in his heart. The immortal realm has indeed encountered an unimaginable crisis. But they, alone, do not even have the ability to solve the crisis. That feeling is like a cricket shaking a tree. Don't overestimate your capabilities. A crisis is coming, and it is better to work hard to find a solution than to sit back and wait for death. Even if the final result is the same, at least we have worked hard for it and have no regrets. Pan Wang spoke with a deep voice. Ancient King, you and the other three summoned us. Do you have any good solutions? At this time, what can be done? We can only do our best. What we want is to share your respective methods with everyone, so that everyone can make further progress and make further progress. The time for the immortal kings to communicate and gain enlightenment this time should not be too long, 100 years is enough. Then, 1 or 2 immortal kings were left to guard the immortal realm, and the rest of the immortal kings all entered the realm sea. I have a suspicion that the depths of this world sea may be the place where Emperor Huangtian fought against the Dark Immortal Emperor who was infected by darkness. It was also the place where the former Lord of Heaven opened the way to the land above heaven for Emperor Huangtian. Perhaps, at the end of the boundary sea, we can find some things and clues left by the former Emperor Huangtian or the Lord of Heaven. These are the means we can use to compete with this mysterious Hunyuan. Of course, going deep into the boundary sea is extremely dangerous. You can also know a thing or two about the dangers of this boundary sea from these ancient corpses. This trip deep into the boundary sea is extremely dangerous, but it also contains huge opportunities. The little things left by existences like the Luo Immortal Emperor are enough to benefit us endlessly. The ancient king said slowly, revealing all his thoughts in front of the immortal kings. After hearing his plan, the heavy hearts of these immortal kings couldn't help but become a little lighter. Indeed, according to the current situation, judging from the current situation, the end of the Sea of 10,000 Realms is definitely related to the former Emperor Huangtian and the immortal Emperor of Darkness. Otherwise, this place would not have been permanently isolated from the world for eternity. I think this suggestion is okay. We should communicate with each other first to confirm our own ways and improve our strength. This way, if we go deeper into the boundary sea, we can also increase the possibility of saving our lives. After listening to the ancient king's suggestion, King Pan nodded. The plan proposed by the ancient king is indeed the best choice now. I just hope that we can find something in the depths of this world sea. What happened to the former Huangtian emperor? After going to heaven, has his strength improved? Now hundreds of millions of years have passed, and Hunyuan has arrived. Has he achieved the Hunyuan realm, and can he descend at the last moment, arbitrate for eternity, and save everything? Xian Wang murmured. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 337. Many immortal kings present were silent. They are all the leaders of the immortal realm, and it can be said that it takes millions of years to give birth to an existence. His strength is superior to all spirits, and the arrogance in his heart is unparalleled. Such an existence, if there is even the slightest possibility, how can you place your hope on other people? But now, the enemy is too powerful, so powerful that it is difficult for them to even think about resisting. As a result, it seems that everyone can only put their slim hope in the existence of the one who single-handedly fought against the Dark Immortal Emperor countless years ago, held up the sky of all realms, and ruled for eternity. There is one last question left. Do you want to inform the Dark Realm about what happened here? After all, if that Hunyuan comes, not only my immortal realm, but the entire heavens and realms, including the Dark Realm, will collapse and become the nourishment for the rebirth of that mysterious Hunyuan. At this moment, we don't have the opportunity to unite. King Xian said slowly. This is a question he has been thinking about. After all, the coming threat is enough to affect the entire world, not just the immortal domain. In this case, the dark domain naturally has nothing to do, stay alone and detached from everything else. The situation faced by the Dark Realm and the Immortal Kings is the same as that of the Fairy Realm. In this case, the Fairy Realm and the Dark Realm will remain unchanged for thousands of generations. Due to their hatred, it was possible to briefly unite together to fight against this catastrophe that affected all the worlds. As soon as King Xian said these words, all the Immortal Kings fell into thinking and silence. It has to be said, King Xian's proposal is very tempting. Although there is a blood feud between the Dark Realm and the Immortal Realm that cannot be resolved for generations. But in the face of the upcoming catastrophe, these are nothing. I think it is okay. There is really no reason for me, the Immortal Domain, to face such a catastrophe alone. After thinking about it, an Immortal King slowly expressed his opinion. Hearing this, several other Immortal Kings also nodded secretly. They also held the same view. However, just as all the Immortal Kings were when he was a little moved, King Mo opened his mouth and raised objections. I don't think so. This difficulty will indeed affect our immortal realm, but it may not necessarily affect the Dark Realm. That Hunyuan will indeed come, but will he really completely destroy everything? There is another possibility, which is to turn all the heavens and worlds into a dark place like the Dark Domain, and become a place of faith and worship for this Hunyuan. If this is the case, our communication with the realm of darkness is tantamount to seeking the skin of a tiger. King Mo's words were so shocking that many immortal kings fell into silence. Indeed, this is a huge gamble that puts the fate of the entire immortal realm on the line. If you are not careful, everything will be lost. If it is really like what King Mo said, speaking of which, it would be really bad if it was connected to the realm of darkness. 100 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and now no time can be wasted. Everyone, start enlightening and communicating with each other right before the Sea of Boundaries. Pan King said in a deep voice. He already knew everything, so he naturally knew that every bit of time now is extremely precious and cannot be wasted. Good. Even if the chance is slim, don't give up. We have no way out. Behind us are all the sentient beings in the immortal realm, and this peaceful and prosperous age that has been passed down for countless generations. All of this cannot be ruined in our hands. The immortal kings spoke one after another, their voices heavy and firm. Those who can reach their level are naturally people who care about the world and are not arbitrary people. Furthermore, the immortal king's lifespan is as long as that of heaven and earth. But if heaven and earth are both, if they will no longer exist, then where will they, the immortal kings, go? The boundary sea roars, and an endless terrifying aura is spreading. And many immortal kings in the immortal domain are gathering on the dam in front of the boundary sea, communicating with each other and confirming my own way. In the shortest time, I crazily improved my strength. Although there is a natural chasm between the dark realm and the immortal realm, there is no communication. In addition, the ancient bells rang, resounding throughout the world. Many immortal kings in the dark realm are naturally aware of it. In the dark territory, the most ancient place is the Wangzu Temple. Huge and ancient ideas collided and communicated with each other in the void. The ringing of ancient bells is a sign that the immortal realm summons the immortal kings of the heavens to return. What happened that caused the immortal realm to ring the ancient bell of chaos? Is it possible that they want to counterattack our domain but fail? Haha, how is it possible? Although the immortal realm has quite a lot of foundation, it is not enough to counterattack our realm. The foundation of our world is much richer than that of the immortal realm. No matter what, this matter cannot be ignored. Pay close attention to the movements of the immortal realm, and at the same time call for the return of some immortal kings. If there is any slight change in that fairyland, our world will naturally not be polite to it. The ancient and cold voice sounded in many royal ancestral temples. These are the immortal kings dormant in the dark realm. Naturally, the movements in the fairy realm cannot be hidden from their eyes. However, although they are aware of the changes in the fairy realm, but these immortal kings didn't pay much attention to it. The first is because of the existence of the two worlds. The second is because in their opinion, the strength of the dark realm is much stronger than the immortal realm. A lot it's fine if they don't take the initiative to cause trouble for the immortal realm. How dare the immortal realm take the initiative to cause trouble for the dark realm? You're kidding, how is that possible? Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 338. The movement in the immortal realm, after causing some ripples in the dark realm, suddenly returned to calm. Except for the return of several immortal kings to the realm of darkness among the heavens and worlds, nothing seems to have changed much. In the immortal realm, the immortal kings from all realms returned, gathered in the Dike realm, and separated themselves from the outside world with the immortal king's seal. In the immortal realm, no one knows what happened. Only Qinmu knew that on the Dam realm beside the 10,000 realms sea, more than a dozen immortal kings were communicating with each other, confirming their ways, and constantly increasing their strength. Infinite humming heavenly Lord, who brought me here, Master Dao. Duan Yun's hung was so depressed that he almost wanted to vomit blood. Not long ago, he finally managed to send away Gzi, Yeling, Suiyun, Ruoxi, Queen Qiang, and others. After all, there were no strong people in the lower world. It was his turn. It was time to claim the throne. But as soon as his head and feet climbed out of the coffin, his hind feet were directly taken away by an invisible big hand, and he came to the fairyland. If it were anyone else, he would probably wake up laughing in his dream. The immortal realm. It is a place that many monks have spent their entire lives trying to reach. It is the dream place that many ancient supreme beings have prayed for day and night. But for Duan Yun's hung, he really didn't want to come to the immortal realm. At least, he didn't want to come to the immortal realm so early. Wouldn't it be nice to stay in the lower realm? There are so many monuments and treasures in the lower realm waiting for him to explore. Visit the ruins in all directions and explore the treasures of all realms. Wouldn't it be nice to stay there? Have you captured the immortal realm? Is he really an immeasurable deity? Duan Yun's hung was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. It was just a matter of coming to the immortal realm. When he came up, he was caught in the hands of an extremely terrifying being, like a chicken. This huge gap in strength instantly reminded him of the days when his strength was low and he was dominated by all kinds of things in the lower world. He originally thought that now that he had become an emperor, he would be able to rule the world. Unexpectedly, he was still destined to be robbed. It's just that Duan Yun's hung never expected that the ruthless emperor's strength has reached such an extent. Counting the time, it probably won't take long for the ruthless emperor to come to the immortal realm, right? Now it seems that he can compete with this. Several of the most powerful people in the immortal realm are sitting on equal footing. He is indeed the ruthless emperor who is astonishing for all eternity. But, just, when you leave, can you release the poor Taoist? Duan Yun's hung looked at the grandeur in front of him. The majestic immortal king's restriction almost made me vomit out a mouthful of old blood. Previously, when King Xian and others took the ruthless emperor to the Ronzhou temple to worship, in order to prevent anyone from approaching the Sea of 10,000 Realms and causing danger, they specially placed it here. A ban on the immortal king was set up to prevent outsiders from entering. Of course, Duan Yun's hung, as the only one still within the ban, was naturally isolated and unable to come out. And among the Xian king and the immortal kings who returned from all realms, after coming back, in order to ensure that his cultivation was not disturbed, he strengthened the immortal king's ban. As a result, Duan Yun's hung was trapped in the ban and had no way to get out. Looking in the direction of the Dike world, there were streaks of lightning rising into the sky. Duan Yunzhong felt like crying with the majestic aura. What evil had he done? To be imprisoned in this inhumane place. A miserable place. I'm not a fairy king. Why are you keeping Pandeo here? Let Pandeo out quickly. In fact, King Xian and others really didn't notice Duan Yunzhen's attention. In other words, none of them cared about him. After all, Duan Yunzhong came from the same realm as the ruthless emperor, and even the ruthless emperor didn't say anything or do anything. King Xian and others will naturally not go overboard to deal with anything. In other words, in the eyes of King Xian and others, Duan Yunzhong might have been left here intentionally by the ruthless emperor. However, at this point, King Xian and others really wrongly blamed the ruthless emperor. She has such a temperament, she is aloof and aloof. Except for the most important person in her life, she does not take anything else to heart. Therefore, due to a misunderstanding, Duan Yunzhong was left in the restricted area, unable to advance or retreat. It was extremely embarrassing. Depend on. It would be fine if I were a true immortal, but I am just a supreme being. Looking at the dozen or so demon godlike figures on the embankment world, Duan Yun felt angry and itched his teeth. His current state is too low compared to those of the immortal kings. Xiaochong Buletin Yu Bing Bing. The realm of the immortal king is extremely profound, and the Tao they discussed with each other is naturally extremely profound. Therefore, with Duan Yunzhen's current state, even though he knew that there was a huge treasure in front of him, he still did not open the treasure. The key can only be used in vain. Forget it, there's nothing I can do, Master Dao, I'd better find a place to bury myself. When these immortal kings have left, Master Dao and I will also leave. Duan Yunzhong shook his head and decided to find a place to bury himself. However, just when he was about to do so, something moved in his heart. The next moment, an ancient compass appeared in his palm. On the compass, the runes are all over the place, all-encompassing, vaguely seeming to explain the avenue of heaven and earth. But at this moment, the compass is shining, like a small sun, and the compass needle on the compass is also spinning crazily, and finally points somewhere, shaking violently. The direction pointed by the pointer is exactly the direction of the sea of all realms. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 339. Infinite Humming Heavenly Lord, damn it. The sudden change of the treasure hunt plate shocked Duan Yunzhong. Since he got this treasure, he has never seen such a big change. This treasure hunt plate is naturally the same thing that Duan Yunzhong did when he entered Wuxi Mountain. The one designed and given to him by Qin Mu. After that, Duan Yunzhong used this treasure hunt plate to search for treasures in all directions, and it was very effective every time. However, even when he discovered the tomb of the demon emperor in the lower realm, this treasure hunt plate was not. It seems that the vibration is so intense now. The performance of this treasure hunt plate can only prove one thing, that is, in the black Wanyang in front of you, there is definitely a supreme treasure. The supreme treasure. Do you want to go? For a moment, Duan Yunzhen's mind was caught up in the battle between heaven and man. It was obvious that it could make the treasure hunt plate tremble so fiercely. The treasures in the Sea of 10,000 Realms are definitely of a shocking level. However, even if Duan Yunzhong faced this piece of land in front of him, Wang Yang only knew a little about the vast and endless black, and he also knew that this was definitely not an easy place to get along with. There must be boundless dangers in it. Otherwise, these giants of the immortal king realm would not gather in this dark world. Above. Moreover, the ancient corpses floating in the boundless black sea are enough to prove that this dark sea is a place of death that truly swallows life. However, knowing that the treasure is right in front of you, entering it's not Duan Yunzhen's character to return empty-handed from the treasure mountain. There is no other way, it seems that I can only use that trick. Duan Yunzhong gritted his teeth and seemed to have made up his mind. He sat cross-legged with his knees crossed, holding the spell in his hand, and spoke plausibly. The Tao is created from heaven, born from the chaos of heaven and earth, the ancestral Qi has spirit, and it transforms into three pure beings. As soon as he spoke, Duan Yunzhen's body was seen shaking, and then a stream of energy was shot out from the top of his head and appeared in front of Duan Yunzheng. Then in a very short period of time, the slow rhythm turned into another image of Duan Yunzheng, lifelike and completely exactly the same as his real body. Immeasurable Heavenly Lord, you, a poor Taoist named Duan Yunzheng, will be polite in this life. Duan Yunzheng, who was transformed by Duan Yunzhen's essence, bowed to Duan Yunzheng, his fat face full of smiles. Enter the boundary sea, follow the guidance of the treasure hunt plate, and bring the treasure back. Duan Yunzheng, who looked slightly pale, handed the treasure hunt plate in his hand to Duan Yunzheng, who was transformed from essence, with a look of pain in his eyes. This time, he really spent a lot of money. This technique of transforming the three pure beings is a supreme secret technique that he obtained in the lower realm. However, his current strength and understanding are not deep, and he has not yet fully understood the true meaning of this great technique. Therefore, he can only reluctantly create a clone at the moment. And there is still a big price to pay. His pale face is the price he pays. That is the energy of blood that lasts for 1,000 years. In addition, this clone also holds a treasure hunt plate in his hand. Entering this world in the sea, it's okay if nothing is gained. If he loses this clone and the treasure hunt plate in his hand, Duan Yunzheng no longer wants to think about it anymore. The price is really too high, so big that he wants to just thinking about it will give you the urge to vomit blood. Tisk tisk, this fat man is really spending a lot of money. What Duan Yunzheng didn't know was that everything he was doing was being seen by someone standing by. This person was naturally Qin Mu. In fact, the strange movement of the treasure hunt plate in Duan Yunzhen's hand was caused by Qin Mu. Controlled by one hand. However, he didn't expect that this guy would be so cowardly. At a huge cost, he directly made a clone to explore the way for him. I didn't intend to mess with you originally. Qin Mu shook his head slightly. On this sea of 10,000 realms, the risks are infinite. True immortals cannot live long. Even if they exist in the immortal king realm, if they are slightly careless, they will die. In such a dangerous place, Duan Yunzheng, the mere existence of the supreme realm is basically the kind that will disappear if you dare to go in. Since Qin Mu made his treasure hunt plate change, he naturally wanted to use Duan Yunzheng as a chess piece to uncover the next game. In this way, how could it be possible to target this fat man? As long as his true form is like the sea, the journey will be smooth and safe. But now, since this fat man is so afraid of death, he is willing to spend 1,000 years of life to create a clone. If you don't add some difficulty to him, if you can get the treasure so smoothly, this guy will probably be even more angry and vomit blood. Right? After all, no one will be willing to use a huge amount of means if it doesn't work. Set off. Duan Yunzheng was full of heroic spirit. His true body was sitting cross-legged behind the embankment world, and the clone that was born was under his control, heading towards the sea of 10,000 realms. This clone that cost him 1,000 years of life, possessing the same cultivation and means as the original body. However, the duration is limited and can only exist for a few years. Once the time is up, it will naturally disappear. Now we can only hope that within these few years, in the boundary sea, I found the place where the treasure hunt plate moved, and brought the treasures there back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 340. Duan Yun was born into a Tao body, crossed the Dike realm, and entered the sea of 10,000 realms. All these trends cannot be hidden from the eyes of the immortal kings. However, the ruthless emperor did not react to this, and these immortal kings were too lazy to care about these matters. After all, he is just a mere supreme realm cultivation level. He is not taken seriously by these immortal kings at all, and they are not worried about what kind of trouble he can cause. However, this Sea of 10,000 Realms is extremely dangerous and dangerous. Even if I and others are regarded as immortal kings, they would not dare to enter and explore it for a while. This little guy, with only the cultivation level of the Supreme Realm, dares to enter the Sea of 10,000 Realms. He is really not afraid of those who don't know. None of the immortal kings stopped him, so Duan Yunshen's Taoist body entered the Sea of 10,000 Realms smoothly. He was riding on an ancient treasure ship, and began to follow the guidance of the treasure hunt plate, heading towards the depths of the Sea of all Realms. Boom! Above the Sea of 10,000 Realms, there are endless waves and dangers. From time to time, huge waves surge up, carrying endless corpses and the dust of history. Even if you are a being in the Supreme Realm, if you are not careful, if you are caught by this wave, you will be beaten to ashes by the majestic power contained in the sea water. Immeasurable gods bless you, all gods and Buddhas bless you. On the ancient ship, Duan Yunzheng was trembling, his fat face trembling. Only when he truly entered the Sea of all Realms did he realize how dangerous it was here. A random wave could hit him. All the souls are destroyed. Not to mention, there are other risks here. Some universes are floating in this ocean. If you accidentally fall in, you may never come out. The Taoist body of the Taoist has been cultivated for a whole 1,000 years. Behind the dike boundary, Duan Yunzheng gritted his teeth in pain. Looking at it like this, the possibility of him safely entering the depths of the Sea of all Realms was almost slim. He just opened his bow without an arrow to turn back. Now he can only place his hope on the treasure. It is not in the depths of the Sea of all Realms, but nearby. Otherwise, over time, his Taoist clones will never be able to be saved. This fat man is really as timid as a mouse. Above the boundary sea, looking at Duan Yunzheng crossing the sea, Qin Mu shook his head slightly and couldn't help being speechless. This guy was really a little too careful. Not only did he move the treasure ship forward at an extremely slow speed, but he also shot out treasures from time to time. Test the route ahead to see if there is any danger. When encountering those huge waves, they stay far away. They would rather go far away than go closer. As a result, the forward speed is even more terrifyingly slow. If he keeps walking at this speed, I'm afraid that this guy's Taoist body will disappear because time runs out before he can find what Qin Mu has arranged. No, you still need me to help you at the critical moment. Qin Mu murmured to himself. Immediately, the majestic Sea of 10,000 Realms began to move according to his thoughts. Boom! Behind Duan Yunzhen's treasure ship, a huge wave suddenly burst out for no reason and slammed down on Duan Yunzhen's treasure ship. My life is at an end for my innumerable heavenly lord. Looking at the treasure ship that suddenly crashed down, Duan Yunzheng turned pale with fright. If this wave crashed down, his life would never be saved. However, maybe he was lucky, and the huge wave crashed down only a short distance away from his treasure ship, and did not really hit it. Damn it, Master Dao was scared to death. Cold sweat broke out on Duan Yunzhen's head, and his heart was pounding. This exciting feeling of escaping from death is simply irresistible. Unexpectedly, one wave has not subsided, and another wave has arisen. Boom! Just when Duan Yunzhen's new wave was rising and falling, and he felt that he had narrowly escaped death, two huge waves suddenly rose into the sky from behind and crashed towards his treasure ship. Immeasurable heavenly lord, is he still here? Duan Yunzheng was so frightened that he didn't care whether there was any danger ahead. He drove the treasure ship forward frantically, avoiding the danger behind first. At this moment, Duan Yunzheng moved the treasure ship like an arrow leaving the string. Moving forward crazily. How could it be several times faster than before? A scene that made people laugh or cry happened. On the majestic sea of all realms, a treasure ship moved forward bravely, like an arrow leaving the string, the speed it's almost reaching its extreme. And behind this treasure ship, endless waves surge up, as if urging the treasure ship in front to move forward. This is much faster. Qin Mu smiled and nodded, obviously very satisfied with his handiwork. As for a fat man who screamed incessantly, he naturally didn't take it into consideration. As long as he was fast enough, this guy didn't have it anyway. Death is nothing more than two screams of fright, what does it count? Duan Yunzheng urged the treasure ship to move forward bravely. After an unknown amount of time, the waves behind him that almost made him pee finally calmed down. And he no longer knows how far it goes into the boundary sea. At this time, the sea was calm and there was no danger. Damn it, infinite heavenly Lord, Master Dao, I finally escaped from death. Duan Yunzheng swallowed, feeling quite shocked. Haha, after hundreds of millions of years, have there finally been living beings coming across the sea? Just when Duan Yunzheng was still in shock, an ancient voice suddenly sounded, making his heart pound again. Who is it? Is it a human or a ghost? This sudden sound startled Duan Yunzheng, and he quickly looked around to find the source of the sound. Latecomer, I'm very curious, that barrier can only be broken by a being above the quasi-mortal emperor. You only have the cultivation level of the supreme realm, how can you break the restriction and come across the sea? The ancient voice sounded again. Answer my question first, where are you and who are you? Duan Yunzheng said bravely. Haha, funny little guy. I'm right next to your boat. The owner of the voice was not angry, but just said with a smile. Duan Yunzheng looked at the sound, and his eyes couldn't help but become weird. What did he see? A black rotten wooden box, floating in the black ocean, there are endless ups and downs there. And that sound came from this tattered black wooden box. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 341. A black rotten wooden box floated on the boundless Black Sea, and there was a sound coming from it, which was extremely evil and strange. Even though Duan Yunzheng is well informed and has dug many large tombs in the lower realm, he has never seen anything so evil. The Sea of 10,000 Realms is an extremely dangerous place. Even those in the Immortal King realm will fall here if they are not careful. But now, it is just a black wooden box that looks tattered, but it can survive on the Sea of 10,000 Realms and be safe and sound. So weird, how could it not be creepy? Moreover, judging from the sound coming from the black wooden box, he has actually lived for hundreds of millions of years. Who is he? Who I am? I am a person who should have died a long time ago, but unfortunately, I still survived. The ancient voice continued to come from the black rotten wooden box, but this time, there was a hint of loneliness in the voice. Could it be that you are a senior from the immortal realm who entered the Sea of 10,000 Realms before? Duan Yunzheng raised his hand and guessed. In his opinion, this guess is the most reasonable. However, I don't know why this guy is living in such a tattered black wooden box. It's really weird. Fairyland? Haha, I was indeed born there, but that was a long, long time ago. Inside the black wooden box, the mysterious being said sadly. Okay, little guy, it's your turn to answer my question, how did you get across the sea? There is a restriction behind the damn world. A mere supreme being cannot break that restriction. When I came, there were no restrictions anymore. At this moment, Duan Yunzhen's expression became much more relaxed, probably because he realized that the existence in this black rotten wooden box was not dangerous to him, or that he had no intention of dealing with him. It's not just me, many immortal kings from the immortal realm are also here, but they haven't crossed the sea yet. Hearing Duan Yunzhen's answer, the being in the black wooden box was silent for a moment, and then sighed. Could it be that the ban on Yuhuang was broken? It's a pity, it's sad, the final outcome is indeed doomed, is everything inevitable? If the ancient King Xianwang and others were here, they would probably be horrified when they heard the sounds in this black rotten wooden box. Because they had witnessed the ancient history of those endless and distant years. The existence in this black rotten wooden box, to be able to tell the cause of the ban behind the damn world in one sentence shows that he also comes from that ancient era. More importantly, he actually knows about Huang. You know, in the entire fairyland, there are records and legends about Huang. It was as if it was completely wiped out, with no trace left. The existence in this black rotten wooden box actually knew about Huang, which is enough to prove its extraordinary nature. Unfortunately, Duan Yunzheng did not know all this. After all, he had just arrived in the fairyland not long ago, and I didn't catch up with the scene where the ancient king traveled through the long river of history and deciphered the history. Naturally, I knew very little about the news related to the fairyland. Go back. With your cultivation level, entering the sea is asking for death. A voice came from the black rotten wooden box again, as if persuading Duan Yunzheng. He. Hearing this voice, Duan Yunzheng couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Go back. How is it possible? The treasure hasn't been obtained yet, how could he go back now? If he goes back now, wouldn't it be a waste of money? This kind of loss-making business, how could I possibly do this, Master Dao? However, as if aware of what Duan Yunzheng was thinking, the being in the black rotten wooden box spoke quietly again. Coming as a clone is not a clever method. You must know that there are many dangers in this world sea, and they can instantly wipe out all your souls. It is not just as simple and easy as the death of the clone. Your body will also die along with it. Infinite Heavenly Lord, you actually saw it? Duan Yunzheng was startled. He thought that this technique of transforming the three pure beings was flawless. Except for the short duration, the clone he transformed was exactly the same as his original body. No matter the aura or cultivation level, if he hadn't seen his clone with his own eyes, people would never have imagined that the Duan Yunzheng in front of them was just a clone of the real Duan Yunzheng. But they never expected that the being in this black rotten wooden box could see through his current state at a glance. The clumsy technique was just an evolution from that person's great technique back then. The being in the black rotten wooden box sneered. Infinite Heavenly Lord, since Senior you are so clear about everything, then let Junior take you on the road. If there is any danger, Senior will definitely guide Junior, right? Duan Yunshen's eyes were rolling, and finally he picked up the black rotten wooden box from the sea and put it on the treasure ship. It looked like he was going to take this black rotten wooden box with him. The real treasure hasn't been found yet, and you actually said so many words to scare Master Dao. That's just right, let you and Master Dao set out together. Even if we encounter any danger, you will be there to support Master Dao. We are like grasshoppers on a rope now. If you want to survive, you have to save me, he. Duan Yunzheng looked at the black rotten wooden box beside him and chuckled in his heart.